Hey everyone, it's Carolyn. For the first time, I actually feel empowered to pick my own bike. And man, does it get personal. When I was looking for a gravel bike, I wanted it to be future-proof. I'm the type that if I'm going to consider buying something pricey, I am going down the research rabbit hole to make sure that it meets my top needs. After my experience buying my first road bike and shoehorning my body to a bike that didn't really fit me in the first place, I decided to buy based on fit over brand. I also assessed on how I intended on using it within the next 5 years, at least. Here's my thought process for why I chose this Emerald Niner RLT9 steel 3-star 11-speed SRAM drivetrain, and why I chose this as my trusty companion for the long haul. My intended uses were 1. Handle gravel riding abroad. I wanted something durable that can withstand being tossed around either in a bike bag or on rough roads. If you're curious about the terrain it can handle, check out my riding vlogs in Slovenia and Vietnam. 2. Bike packing. I wanted ample mounting points so I can gradually build out the setup if I wanted to put racks on the front or in the back of my bike or even a trailer. I wanted maximum tire clearance so I can handle short stints of rocky, rooty, technical terrain. And finally, the ability to practice my bike maintenance. With the goal of eventually handling the bike maintenance myself, I wanted external cables to make it easier to repair and even perform swaps as my skills progress over time. With those uses in mind, here are my must-haves. 1. Wheel size compatibility. The resounding advice was find a bike with the most tire clearance. So I did, and this frame happens to be compatible with 700s and 650s. I currently run 700s at the moment. 2. As mentioned earlier, I wanted a lot of mounting points. I wanted as many as possible, and this bike has 26. They're located down the fork, down the seat stay, down tube, top tube, you name it. It has more mounts than I could possibly need, and that's what I wanted. I will say I have used about 50% of the mounts at some point or another, and I like the option that I could mix and match different accessories to fit my needs and whatever I want to be most convenient. On my down tube, I have my repair kit. I like that the default is a 1x setup and that I could swap it for a 2x if I'm looking for a wider gear range. For as long as I've owned this bike, my 1x has been sufficient for my needs. I just like knowing I could swap it for a 2x in the future. External cables. As mentioned before, performing my own maintenance is a lifelong skill. And I'm still learning the ins and outs of this gravel bike. Having external cables allows for easier repairs and cable swaps, so when I get to that point, I will thank my past self for thinking about this decision when buying this bike. And finally, material. Steel has this smooth, compliant ride quality and this classic aesthetic, and is also known to be repairable. For me, I want that peace of mind of knowing that this can withstand some rough roads and tumbles. With steel, if I see a dent or a scratch, I'll be a little bummed for a few minutes, but I can move on a lot faster. The downside to this is that it is on the heavier side. I knew what I was getting myself into, getting a steel bike, and that is the compromise that I was willing to make between weight and durability. To make it more custom to me, and now that I know my body geometry better, I swapped out the cranks from 172 to 165 millimeters. This significantly reduced my knee pain, and now it's my default size for any bike that I get. I swapped out the standard 40T chainring in the front for a 38T wolf-tooth oval chainring. I swapped out the stock saddle because it was too narrow, so I upgraded it to my favorite specialized Power Expert saddle at 168 millimeters wide. My bike had rival components, and then I was able to get my shifters under warranty, so I upgraded to Force, which was nice. And then I have like an Apex crank set because that was the only one available at 165 millimeters. What I really like about SRAM is that it has this locking mechanism feature that makes it so much easier to do repairs on the bike. Outside of that, I kept my stock wheels and tires. I am running a mullet Schwalbe setup with 40s on the front and the back. The back has the stock all-rounds, and then I added overlands in the front. And then there were things I needed to add to the bike. For example, I got Shimano 9100 XTR pedals. I had a spare Wahoo mount that I was excited to use after 5 years of being in storage. And then I added 2 titanium king cages. And finally, a repair kit bag with your typical repair supplies, except now I have a dyno plug. I will say I did win a set of carbon all-road wheels from Sea Otter that I will be adding to this bike soon, and I am very excited to share it with you guys when I have all my parts ready to install. Alrighty, so here's my final build in table form. The weight, including cages and the repair kit, is 25 pounds or around 11 kilograms. In the end, this Niner RLT9 steel checks all the boxes for gravel adventures and future goals. It's got a rugged construction, an adaptable setup, and room to grow as my skills and lifestyle evolve. It rides like an Escalade, and it makes me feel confident that it can withstand most terrain. While it's not the lightest, it does double as a strength training companion to keep me grounded, literally. And as a woman in her 30s, maintaining muscle and bone density is so vital as I age. So I treat this gravel bike as a form of conditioning. Now I understand that when you know a lot more about bikes, why people decide to go custom. I will say I did start the endeavor and then quickly realized it would have taken me months to research, gather the parts, and assemble every inch of that bike. This time around, I just decided to buy a completed bike and then cherry pick parts to swap instead so I can hit the trails sooner. So, do you own a future-proof bike? What bike do you have and what did you prioritize? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. Bye!